So in 26 years, I've been able to fit in the equivalent of 52, and considering I live life probably 10 times full out, that's the equivalent of 520 years of human life experience, which I'm going to share with all you here tonight.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap, baby. Now, I'm a neuroplastician. I reprogram lots of people's brains in all kinds of positive, delightful ways. I use neurotechnologies, QEEG to measure the brain, neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, which you'll have no doubt about, because after tonight I'm going to saturate your brain with learnings through the front door, the side doors, through the attic, and through the deep unconscious basement. And I'm going to remove all the furniture and things that are in the way, including this table here, so I can move around. Justin, let's move this table here for a second, my man. Don't want to be knocking people to sleep and they're falling over tables. That's not this kind of party. Oh, there you go. Now, since this is a meeting of the minds event, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all a trance to not only go deep inside your mind to discover some really cool things, but also a trance to get out of your mind and into somebody else's mind. And perhaps, in fact, anyone you want. So you could go inside the mind and consciousness of Oprah. Or you could learn like Einstein. So if Oprah is watching, I know Meeting the Minds is going to go viral. Oprah, one of these peeps just may hack into your brain. So I'm expecting a few Oprahs in this group here. Now, what this is a deep trance phenomenon called deep trance identification, where you can literally go into the mind and consciousness of another being. And for guys, it is okay if you want to step into a woman's mind. Now, women, me, you're not really missing out on much. And trust me, I listen to you all day. The inside of your minds is much more entertaining. Now, our perceptions, our thoughts, our beliefs, these are the things that guide our behavior. Now, everything that is the universe, this is what we call the territory. And on top of this territory, we build what's called a model, a representation of what's possible, what's not possible, the boundaries within which we operate, because we have so many energies and frequencies and things which we don't perceive at all. Like right now, there are strong and weak forces holding each of the atoms and cells together in your body, and you don't feel them. In fact, this Earth is spinning at 25,000 miles an hour, in a solar system spinning at 177,000 miles an hour, and we don't feel any of it. Because our consciousness can only absorb so much. So consciousness is like a flashlight. Basically, imagine walking into a dark room, and our mind, our focus, illuminates certain parts. So for instance, you go into your room, you shine a light on the kitchen sink. You're looking at the kitchen sink. Now, do you have to think about the body movements, the heart rate, the muscular movements, the little nuance of each step? No. Your unconscious takes care of that. Now, the problem is, I got people whose conscious mind is headed towards the wrong thing. You know, I shouldn't be smoking this cigarette. I really shouldn't be smoking. And then they find themselves waking up with a bag half empty of Lay's potato chips. And then they get this good feeling. Then they get disappointed with themselves. Then they get disappointed. They start getting angry about getting disappointed about eating Lay's potato chips. Then they get angry for maybe a few hours. Then they run out of energy. They run out of steam. They get a little depressed. Then they're a little bit depressed about being angry, about being disappointed, about eating Lay's potato chips. Then they wake up the next morning. They look in the mirror. Oh, shit, I gained 2 pounds on my ass. Then they get frustrated. And they get frustrated about their anger, about their depression, about their disappointment, about eating Lay's potato chips. Then they go and analyze themselves and look in the mirror. And they ask themselves, wow, what's wrong with me? And you look in the mirror and you go, well, your ass isn't big enough. You're not tall enough. You're not smart enough. oh, you're definitely not enough. Because when you look in the mirror and you ask yourself what's wrong with you, guess what? Your brain's going to give yourself the answer. Now, our brain has over 100 billion neurons. There's over 10 to 10,000 connections between each nerve cell. And the potential connections between brain cells is more than the known atoms in the universe. And here's what. You guys have explored little of it. You're very good at analyzing why you feel bad and why you can't do things. But most of us have not explored and really extended our brain and our neurology to explore how motivated we can be. How happy we can be. You know, most people have one form of happiness. You can have 20, 30, 40 different kinds of happiness. And this is one of the things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to explore a little bit of altered states. Because I got news for you. All your bad habits, all your bad things, you're going to continue to repeat them until you alter your state of consciousness. Now, the flip side of this is I have a way of motivating clients. I have clients come in and they're trying to convince me that no one and nothing could ever help them. I ask them, do you believe in evolution? They go, no. Can anything make you feel happier? They go, no. They think about it for 2 seconds. They go, my life is shit. And I go, you ever had a happy memory? And they go, no. And then I have them giggling 2 seconds later, 2 seconds before, and they go, well, I wasn't really happy. So then I have them go back and remember another time where they had fun, but they really didn't enjoy themselves. Now, I've learned from some really brilliant pioneers in terms of the brain, in terms of the mind, and reason being I had a brain that was in big trouble. I had a brain that literally could do everything. It was a determination, motivation machine, had all the productivity skills up the yin-yang, spent tens of thousands of dollars going to business mastery seminars, motivation seminars, self-development seminars, and I got more anxious and more stuck. So there was more than meets the eye. And this is the magical thing. How? How can I create sustainable, long-term behavioral change? Now, I switched from wanting to go to Harvard Law to, after having anxiety and panic attacks, being hospitalized, to getting a degree in psychology and studying psychology and neuroscience. And I got into brain imaging, measuring the brain, and using things like nutrition, different technologies, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, all these wonderful goodies and toys, some of which I brought here today for you to experience. And what would happen is, I would get people's brains balanced, I would get their neurochemistry balanced, but still they would come in and they'd still be depressed. They'd still be anxious. They'd still be running their OCD. And I'd be banging my head. I'd be like, well, what the hell? This blood chemistry's balanced, energy's balanced, and cell phones turn into rectal thermometers as I'm speaking. So you may want to be careful and have those cell phones off. Brains on policy number 1. Now, so there is an overriding theory which simply doesn't work. And I'm here to tell you that your brain works perfectly. Now, most people, the whole field of a lot of psychology and the medical model is basically designed to look for what's wrong with you, name, blame, and then basically tell you you're screwed, which is the opinion of whoever's treating you. But your brain works perfectly. And case in point is, I have people who come in and they tell me they have a bad memory. And I ask them, well, how do you know that? And they say, well, I have evidence of it every day. I remember to forget my keys, where my car is, my kid's birthday, and next thing you know, they have a whole list of 20 items in their stress box. Now, who in here suffers from uncertainty? Are you sure? Now, most people go, yes. I doubt myself, and I'm sure of it. And then people come in and they say, well, I have anxiety. They should be saying, well, I've mastered anxiety, and I'm sure of it. Then you have people who are depressed. And they think about the same crappy memory and experience day in and day out. They remember the same thing every single day. They have a perfect memory. Now, all we need to do is we need to paint some new content on top of those neural pathways. And then you have people who come in and say, wow, my brain is broken. And I look at them and I go, really? So, you trust your brain to be able to evaluate the status of the 100 billion neurons, trillions of neurocortical connections, to be able to analyze it, evaluate, then come to the conclusion that your brain is broken. Isn't that interesting? And then they go, huh? And I go, well, it's either your brain works perfectly or it doesn't, and you're not qualified to make that decision. I am. Look into my eyes. And then you have people who think that they can't learn well. But the thing is, they have to trust themselves that they're smart enough to make that decision. And you have the people, well, I'm done. They have to decide that quickly. So there's a little bit of a paradox there. Now, when we start looking for the paradoxes, we realize that the brain reliably and consistently does work. In fact, all of you here, you have problems which you think you have, and you're actively demonstrating and doing the thing which you don't think you can do. You are, in fact, doing it. So when you say to yourself, well, I could never be happy, in order to have the idea to talk about it, the idea has to be in your mind somewhere. Now, you may be pushing it off into the distance, in which case it's my job to bring it right in, have you step right in and bathe in it. But in order to talk about it, it must be in there. Now, here are some interesting things. Because I work with clients who have OCD and schizophrenia, and the difference between someone who's schizophrenic in a mental hospital is they're not getting paid for their hallucinations. For those of us who are engineers and architects, we get paid for our hallucinations. You know, I found a way to hallucinate business ideas and create them, and it works for me. I've been able to harness my OCD and aim it towards business success. Most people don't get paid for their hallucinations. But interesting thing for you to know is I have some schizophrenics. Everyone's going in. They're saying there's broken, they're wrong with them. But here's the interesting thing. They go in with the most preeminent psychologists in Canada who advise and work with the whole police force. And this schizophrenic is able to go in and hold their model of the world, handle every objection, every theory that psychologist holds at them, and convinces them and contains their model. Well, when they go, well, you're not really talking to the devil. And he goes, well, yeah, the devil said you say that. And then there's not really a secret society chasing you. And they say, well, yeah, you must be a part of it. And they find a way, because it's actually, rather than looking at it as something that's wrong, you just look at it as it's producing whatever it's producing. So a lot of times what happens is sometimes a bad thing will happen to you, and you feel bad, you feel depressed, and then you take that feeling and you start thinking about every other area of your life. You had a depressing thing in a relationship. Then you start thinking about your business, taking all those depressed feelings and attaching them to your business, then attaching them to your career, then attaching them to your family members. Suddenly you have depressed in every area of your life. Or you have this kind of case in point is like agoraphobia. Something happens to someone in a bad building. They feel bad. They don't go in that building again. Then they start thinking, well, what if? What if I go into another building and the same thing happens? What if I'm walking along in the street and someone comes up and does something like that? Suddenly they can't leave their home. Then with a little bit more analysis, they end up just stuck in their bathroom with their cat. And their cat leaves them because they're just so depressing. Nah, you be nice. You know, there's an issue when your dog stops hanging out with you. You know, dogs, they are the true test of a human being. If your dog starts growling at you and walking away, there's something the matter. And the same thing applies for things like anxiety. When they say generalized anxiety, is you have a bad feeling and then you can think about the rest of your life and attach it to everything else. It's called negative hypnosis, negative programming. We've received a lot of it. A lot of us were in school and we were told that we're not enough, we'll never amount to something, or you're not good at math. I got news for you. If you hang out with the smartest people that do what they do, you simply ask them how they do things, you can start to learn their skills and do it and just get as good as they are. So for instance, in our working memory, we can hold maybe 7 ± 2 bits in our memory, which we could encode as images. And I do this with like medical school students. Is we could take one image, we could create a diagram. It could represent a whole chapter. Let's say there's 7 chapters in a field. You can have one image to represent a whole chapter. and you have 100 different bits on that one image. Then you'd build 7 images for the whole course. Then you'd have 500 and 900 pieces. Then you could go one step further. All they need is another set of 7 images. Then they could remember another 7 different courses, and then altogether have like 2,500 to 8,100 bits of information, all in one working memory. So you literally could take medical school, takes 4 to 8 years or whatever, and you could probably learn it in 4 months if you learned about it correctly. So that's the domain in which I'm looking and I'm operating, is how can we optimize this supercomputing holographic brain. And I got news for you. Even if something's happened to your brain, you've had an injury, the brain contains in each part, we're evolving our theory. Theoretically, each part contains an image of the whole. So even if you lose half your brain, studies are now showing that other regions can be used and trained to take over those functions. And anyone who tells you otherwise has not read any neuroplasticity literature. Now, I want to, in the interests of time, I'd like to get right to some demonstrations because we learn best through seeing things. So I'd like you all to look closely as we do some demonstrations here. Now, who has a bad memory or something that you think about that you don't want to think about too much, that gets in your way? Do you have a bad memory you think about too much? Okay, how much time in the day do you spend thinking about it?
Probably like 5 or 6 hours a day.
5 or 6 hours a day?
Yeah.
Okay, do you ever take a day off from doing it?
No.
No? So you consistently do it every day?
Yeah.
Do you schedule it into your calendar?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Oh, you do?
in the back of my mind, like it's not.
Oh, so it's only in the whole back of your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just, so you're going about, when you're with someone, you're really thinking about bad memory, you're not really there.
Exactly.
So good luck to anyone who goes on a date with you. If you got that bad memory there, they better know that and inoculate against that, otherwise they're in big doo-doo.
Yeah.
They're going to end up just like the memory. Now, I don't think you're doing it because like you're a bad person. It may just be like a nervous habit.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, I have people who like pluck their eyebrows out. I mean, talk about a bad habit that makes them look ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yours may not be that bad, but 5-6 hours in a week, we're talking 35 hours, a month, 150 hours in a year, we're talking 2,000 hours. How many years are you planning to do this?
Not too many anymore.
Oh, you're starting to make a new plan. You're getting smarter already. Yeah. So when you think about the bad memory, if you think about it right now, don't look too close at me while you think about the bad memory. I don't want an anger to me, but I'm going to do something about it for you. But when you think about it, how big is the memory in your mind? When you think about it, the memory, how big is it? Is it like life size or bigger?
Probably as real as this room.
So it's like the size of this room.
Yeah.
So you have this like IMAX size theater in your head, 3-dimensional, so you can really capture up those bad feelings.
I mean, it's not a bad memory per se. I just think.
Oh, I said a bad memory.
Oh.
So you got a good memory that's a 3D XD?
Yeah.
Okay, well, high five on that. That's not what I'm demonstrating here, ladies and gentlemen. This is called listening. Bad memory. We'll keep that plan then, okay? 5 to 6 hours. Now, anyone else in the audience, do any of you have a bad memory that you would like to not think about so much? In fact, eliminate from your mind. You have a bad memory, dear? Okay. Now, this bad memory, how much time do you think about it?
Rarely, but it's just there.
Oh, so it's not really a problem. You're just making things up.
No, it's there, but it's kind of like hidden.
Well, how long is it just there?
Well, I feel like it's become a part of me now.
Okay.
But I choose to just, blind.
Now, how often do you spend in a day looking at that bad memory?
I don't.
So you don't think about it at all. So how do you know you even have a bad memory? Because I'm not really convinced that you have a bad memory.
No, I know it's there.
So you know it's there. Now, when it's there,
It's not
how big is it? You got this big bad memory. Okay. Is it life size or larger than life size? Larger than life size. Now, what I want you to do is, there's no border around the memory, is there? Is there a clearly defined edge where the memory starts and stops? Of course not.
There is.
Oh, there is? Okay. Now, would you like to do something about this memory, or would you like to keep it there and leave it as a part of you for the rest of your life?
Well, I think the fact that
That's a yes-no question.
Okay. Well, I'm a woman.
No excuses here, women. You get away with enough here. Trust me. I just went, you know, never mind. I don't want to get in trouble. So you want to keep your bad memory. Now, anyone in the audience have a bad memory? So we have 10 minutes. Okay, so what we need to do is, sorry, my dear, you're taking too long, but if you want to come up and go into trance, you're welcome to come on up here and I can do a little thing about the memory. All right? So come up here, come have a seat.
Right now?
Yep, right now. You can come have a seat here.
Come check
Now.
out my girl's booth outside.
Now, do any of you guys spend too much in a day where you just worry too much or stress too much? I'm supposed to help people reduce stress here, make them feel really good. And guess what? I'm quite good at it. Anyone else? Worry too much anxiety? You guys are all perfect. Hardy? Yeah, come on up here, Hardy. All right, now, I'm looking for something very particular, as I promised at the beginning of tonight. What I would like you to do before we get into that is I'd like you to look at my finger here. Well, look at my finger. Now, take a deep breath in through your mouth. Deep breath in. Hold it. Slowly let it out. And on 3, 2, 1, blink. Now, another deep breath and one more blink. 3, 2, 1, now. And what I want you to do is there anyone in here who would like to step out of their mind and become a role model inside of someone's mind for a few moments? You'd like to come up here? All right, come on up. Now, who would you like to be, sir? You're going to come have a seat here. Who would you like to be?
You know what, with all the hype, I'd love to be Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Well, that's pretty cool, yeah. So you'll probably be able to get up here and make everybody laugh because I've done a fairly good job, not so good job. Yeah. Okay, now, so what I'm going to do here is, of course, we couldn't have a wireless mic, so I'm going to have to do the one-handed trance inductions here. So what I'd like you to do, my dear, is before I get you to go into a deep trance, is I'd like you to just think about that memory, and I'd like you to put a 3-inch thick border around it. 3-inch thick border around it, and then grab the memory real fast, and then just shrink it down to a dot. You just look at it and go, now blink it black and white. Shh. Now take the memory and open it to a slightly small size, all right? Now, take a deep breath in through your mouth. Hold it. Slowly let it out through your nose. And look at my hand. And in a moment, you're going to take that memory and run it backwards, slowly, slower, and then sleep right there. And just relax. And just drift down. And I want you to take this and just hold this. And I want you to just let this float down here. And this arm's going to get stuck up here because I don't want you to let it down any faster than you get an absolutely exquisite good feeling. Because I know there's been a time where you felt absolutely wonderful. And nothing was going to stop you. In fact, every woman's felt that. And I know it. And think of one of those times and hold that stiff right there. And just pull up a wonderful memory. And as you look at it, I want you to start to smile. Oh, come on, there's a better smile than that. There you go. I know you're all serious. And you're a woman and you're like, oh, I don't really have to listen or follow instructions. But on stage, you do. In a moment, I'm going to shake this. You're going to drop all the way inside of that wonderful feeling. It's going to feel exquisite. It's going to just rush all the way through your body. And it's going to tingle from the bottoms of your toes all the way up to your cheeks and to your mouth. And those lips, I'm going to see them climbing all the way up. Because I heard a smile doesn't count unless you show some teeth. 1, 2, sleep. Now, Mr. Hardy, what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to look at my finger and real fast, keep looking at my finger, keep looking at my finger, keep looking at my finger. In fact, we're going to take these off real quick. Look at my finger. and just follow it. And sleep. Because I know for you, Brian, there you go. You see the little eye fluttering, nice little alpha trance. Because I know for you, Brian, is there are some things which maybe you take a little too seriously. And it's because you've been spinning your feelings in the wrong direction. You've been letting them spin. You've been making bad images. Maybe you've been yakking at yourself with a yacky voice. And you need to go inside. And you need to lighten the heck up. People ask me, what's the secret of life? Lighten the fuck up, man! There you go. That's the stuff. Because you can take that feeling and it can start to spread through your entire body. It can go to your forehead and feel your third eye. Yes, there you go. That's the stuff. Feel that energy rise all the way up. And I want you to look at one of those situations where maybe you got too stressed, and I want you to start to giggle and laugh uncontrollably. Bigger giggle. There you go, Ryan. That's the stuff. Bigger giggle. And then you think about repeating things. Yeah, you think about going home and procrastinating. You think about your business and think, well, I just can't do it. And you start laughing uncontrollably. You think about going home and being depressed, and it starts to be the funniest thing ever. You think about going home and being into a slump. Ah, whoo. There you go, baby. Now, while you stay here, I want you to relax even deeper still. Because I want you to hold this arm up stiff, because you're going to follow this instruction here. Because I know you want to be the best you can be. And what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to take this good feeling and run through each and every area of your life where maybe you are slowing yourself down. Maybe you're putting too much gravity. It's like guys do when they're like wallflowers. They start thinking, oh, she'll never like me. And they start feeling bad. And they're so focused on their freaking stomach. The girl in front of them begins walking away. Next thing you know, she's got another boyfriend. And you go, shit, I missed that one. You don't want to be that guy. Now just let that hand go down slowly as you just think about those areas of your life where you need to lighten them up. You need to shift that perspective into something new, into something more wonderful. And your unconscious knows what that is. Now, what's your name, sir?
Ben.
Ben. You guys see, this is Ben right now. Yes? Now, Ben, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just take your hand and push down on my hand with your other hand. All right, push down, push down, push down. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just think about your role model in your mind. Think about Jim Carrey. Pull up an image of him and notice the way he carries his body. Notice the way he talks. Because I'm sure in your life you've watched Jim Carrey numerous times. You've seen many movies. You've seen The Mask. And boy, that was a funny movie, wasn't it? Because you can remember some of the scenes, some of the jokes, some of the lines. You can hear his tonality. You can see the way he moves. And suddenly you can let that image get bigger and bigger and bigger in your mind. And what I want you to do is take this hand and hold it up stiff here like this. And begin to feel a pull between your thumb to your nose. And it's just the attraction to move yourself all the way inside of that image, of that role model who you're going to become. And as you let your hand just slowly move closer and closer to your face, you are going to make that image closer and closer, closer. And the moment your hand touches your face, you're going to forget for just these moments that you're Ben and step all the way inside of Jim Carrey. Now, there you go. Just relax. Because in a moment, I'm going to bring you all the way up. And you're going to step inside Jim Carrey, and you're going to tell a few jokes. And you're going to meet with these lovely minds who are going to be here, waiting in anticipation to figure out what the genius comedian has in his brain. Now, you're going to wake up. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. Now, Jim, would you mind standing up for us? Now, well, Jim, obviously, you're just incredibly brilliant and funny. How do you entertain people? What's going through your mind when you're entertaining people and you're doing a movie? What really drives you?
I like to capture an emotion for those that watch me. which gives me my own emotions.
Now, which emotions have you found to really drive you? I mean, obviously you're very humorous and funny, but it seems like you're also a very passionate guy and spiritual guy. Any advice for the ladies and gentlemen here who maybe want to get into a career of acting, of being an entrepreneur, of being an activist, of a spiritual journey? Any advice?
You have to envision it yourself, because if you don't believe it to be true, it will not come true.
Perfect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do any of you have any questions for Jim?
Can I have your autograph?
Well, you guys are a real lively group, because here's the thing. You don't ask the questions, you don't find out.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Boom.
Wayne Gretzky.
That's the Boothinator. Boothinator there for you. So either Jim Carrey or Boothinator are giving it to you. Well, thank you very much, Jim. And I'd like you to just go back and sleep right there. Lift your head down. Now, the interesting thing is when you come out of this trance, is you're going to just forget about having ever been Jim Carrey, because you're Ben, and you're going to step all the way back inside of Ben. However, there are going to be some golden nuggets, some seeds of the brilliance, of the humor, of the comedy, of the drive, the passion, of the emotion of Jim Carrey inside of you. And you're going to find yourself surprising yourself delightfully. So you're going to find yourself, wherever you're taking yourself too seriously, you're going to lighten up and have a sense of humor. In fact, you're going to make people all around you feel better than you ever have. And you're going to take all those bad memories, which other people in the group may be hanging on to, and you're going to giggle at them. All the things that used to cause you stress suddenly are going to begin to fade at the molecules. And you're going to have the emotion, and you're going to envision that success, and it's going to be clearer and clearer each and every day forward. And when I count to 5, you're going to open your eyes and explode like a freaking rocket ship with an unexplainable sense of well-being, a sense of drive and determination to really be the best that you can be. And you're going to envision it each and every day and night and move closer and closer towards it. And the closer you get towards it, the better it's going to feel, and you're going to wake all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open up your eyes. There you go. How you doing?
Good.
What's your name?
Ben.
Ben, thank you. Thank you very much, Ben. Brian, I have a few suggestions for you. But first you have to sleep. There you go. That's the stuff. There you go. Just let that go. Because Brian, when you come out of this trance, you're going to feel like an absolute freaking superhero. Every ounce of talent that they said has ever been inside you, it's going to be right in front of your eyes. In fact, you're going to feel it on the bottom of your toes. You're going to feel it on your knees. You're going to feel it in your shoulders. You're going to feel it in your cheeks. You're going to wake up and feel totally freaking alive and ready to take on the world. You're going to look at all these people and you're going to really start to tell them you need to improve your health. You need this, and you're going to feel this unbelievable motivation and drive to take your business, to take yourself to superhero heights. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, now. Open your eyes. How you doing? Doing good. Now, how about you? Excuse me. You still have that bad memory? Can you think about it? Or is it gone? Oh, shit. Certainly snuck up on the one who it didn't work for. Now, you know what the cool thing is? You're going to begin to freaking doubt that voice. Every time you say it didn't work, you're going to have a voice that's going to say, maybe I'm wrong. Suddenly you're going to begin to doubt your doubts. And life's going to get a lot easier. It's just a thought. Keep it in mind for the rest of your life. Thank you very much. That's right. Stand up. Thank you very much.